a cohesive team. I thought that was a unicorn, a bit of an illusion.
Confusion is ugly, undermines teamwork and cohesion and kindness by its nature.
My first kick of the cat, if that's the phrase,
kick of the cat.
Was
yeah, I hope you don't
can.
kick the cat. Don't kick the cat. We're animal lovers.
Welcome to the Serious Playfulness Podcast, where we explore the work of building healthy, mission-driven organizations that don't suck the life out of you. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Stephanie. And if you secretly dream of a workplace that you actually want to go to, then you're in the right place. Let's get to work.
Don't do a marketing campaign until you've first done this. Today, Steph and I are going to talk about some things that are easy to maybe overlook and then have bite you down the road of promoting your service or your product, be it maybe you're fundraising for a nonprofit, maybe you're marketing your product in a company or trying to raise capital. This is something that has to happen first, but it's sometimes easy to ignore. And essentially what we want to talk about is, what do you and your team have to be really clear about before you can start telling others about what you offer? Steph, why don't you start off with an example of this that you've seen?
Sure. I think of a conversation I recently had with a friend who's a marketing expert, and we were talking about our unique expertise. And I said, well, I help organizations get clear about who they are, why do they exist, and their teams to function well. And she said, oh, Steph, the number of clients I get from marketing who want a new website or who want a new campaign, who don't have an answer to your question. And so we spin out trying to solve it kind of while we're building either a website or a campaign, and like they aren't clear. So the messaging externally doesn't work because internally they're not even clear.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose they could maybe fake it or force it, but generally speaking, things that are faked and forced are going to manifest to be an issue just by their nature, right? Because you're going to have either it's not going to be accurate, or it's not going to be something that the team and leadership is fully committed to or bought into, or something maybe they can't even fully deliver on.
Or it'll just be so vague that it was worth nothing. Like the website still doesn't say anything. The campaign still doesn't achieve anything because the internal clarity wasn't resolved, or the internal confusion wasn't resolved. So the external, maybe you still put out your fundraising letter, or you still put out your annual campaign or new website, but it doesn't work. It doesn't land to the client, because when the client reads it, they're like, I don't know what this is. This is not quite clear to me. And most consumers now aren't going to solve that. If they're not going to sit and try to figure out, do they sell this, or is this kind of their niche? They just move on. They move on to find someone who's clear so that they can read it and resonate. This is for me. This is what I've been looking for.
Yes, I suppose it's all the more important given the relative attention spans of people, given what's happened with devices and such, as we well know. Mm-hmm. I'm also mindful of the fact that when you are in the stage of marketing and you're trying to craft that message for external consumption, that if you're not clear internally about some fundamental things, it can result in relational issues within the team that can also then affect, obviously, everything in the execution of the marketing or whatever you're working on. I once was talking with someone about a team issue. And it was basically, there was some frustration among the team members. This was in a device company, basically a technological device company. And they were frustrated with one person and kind of resentful. And I asked a question. I said, have you all talked about why the company exists? What we consider one of the critical questions. Why does the company exist? Like, what's the root, not practical, philosophical root of everything? And I asked this gentleman, I said, imagine the thoughts of the, say, 5 members of the executive team, what they would say. And he said, you know what, it's interesting. I think 4 of us would say that our company exists to do something worthwhile for people. We're creating something that, of course, we hope to make business sense, but it's going to help people. And the other person, the one with whom they had some issues and resentment, he realized would have had a different answer, which was, it's just to maximize money, make a ton of money, make a lot of profit. And they hadn't talked about this. So that shared confusion, if we can call it that, can show up in vague or ineffective messaging, but it can also affect the relational dynamics. And you might not even necessarily know why.
Yeah.
So clarity first, right? Clarity protects cohesion. Clarity also allows you to communicate and to be effective around how you do it.
And that internal clarity, once it's established, then it can transcend into the external communication with so much more efficiency. Like, just spare yourself smashing your head against a wall trying to write website copy or campaign copy. And I speaking from experience here, so guilty as charged.
Yes.
I know the frustration when the internal clarity wasn't there. Anything produced externally is painful, especially if you need to now, let's say, bounce that copy back and forth across a team and everyone is tweaking it back to the point of clarity they are under the impression that we're supposed to be achieving. It's just endless and painful unnecessarily.
Okay. And do you want to talk for a minute about some frameworks out there? There's the mission statement framework, which we generally don't love. The mission vision framework, which the theory of it's great, but let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe why a different framework might be better is often, say, a mission statement is really wordy and almost tries to do too much. It's sort of a combination of what we aspire to be, who we are, some of our strategy, some of our kind of core identity, all mixed into one paragraph with a lot of words. And I think the intent's great, but often what happens is that you just end up with too much trying to be done at once.
Yes, I have strong opinions about this. The mission statement, vision statement, I guess I would ask someone who's in favor of this methodology, when was the last time you read a mission statement and vision statement when you went to someone's website? Might be low, might be infrequent. So already I'm finding its utility to be low. But if you dared to read it, did you know by that phrasing or paragraph, worst case scenario, did you know what they were aiming for? Was it clear? Or, like you're alluding to, this word salad where we just throw every good sentiment and value and, solve world hunger and like just put it all in there because it feels awkward not to say, I don't know, say lofty goals when we're writing this on a web page. I don't know. I haven't seen it done very well often. And what I have found way more helpful is really simple answers to pretty simple questions, clarity questions, but precise. I would say if you can't define what you do or why you're doing it in less than 10 words, go back, figure it out.
Yes. Maybe we can take an example from our company. So our answer to the question, why do we exist, which is part of the framework from Pat Lencioni's framework of questions, our answer is to make good work great. And it's very few in words. And then our answer to what do we do is we help mission-driven leaders build cohesive teams and healthy organizations. And we find that those two examples of questions and answers are very simple and very clear. And back to the why do we exist answer, there's a ton packed into that in terms of the meaning, but it's easy to remember. It's a basis from which we can then explain more and share anecdotes and talk about the kind of the heart of the work that we do. But it's accurate, captures why we care about this. We want to support the inherent goodness of work and help it be really good in a healthier context of teamwork and organizational culture. And it's not a big paragraph. It's very simple. What about, Steph, with let's talk a little bit more marketing. Now, we don't want to sort of straw man marketing efforts. They're like, we have friends in marketing and they would say these things that we're saying. They're saying, yeah, you need to be really clear. And they would have their unique approaches to that and probably complementary. The key is that just make sure you start upstream and make sure also you have to keep in mind that communication, that clarity that should be precise, clear, simple as possible needs to be bought into by all the people. It can't just be the thinking of one or two people, because then, my goodness, when you're in the context of editing things or trying to generate new creative ideas around it, people can't buy into that which A, is unclear, or which they haven't, if they're in the valid position to do it, helps shape, right?
Yeah. And I think you're right. If an organization's looking at investing in marketing effort, fundraising effort, these are worthy causes. Excellent. Glad organizations are doing so. It is also a wonderful time before you put that investment into those new products and resources. Before you do that, just tap the brakes and check the internal clarity first. Because if you diagnose any bits of confusion, if you can solve that internally before you hire that marketing professional to come in, it's going to save you time and money. And it's the right discipline as a leader to do that. Anytime we spot confusion, that we should tidy it up. And right before fundraising or marketing campaign is a good time to explore that.
So we last year, we were in discussions with a potential client who was also in discussion with a marketing agency, and whom we had a good relationship. We know them, we implicitly trust them. And they decided that we really want the marketing language. So our work doesn't directly usually create marketing language. Ours is to internally unify the key leadership so that from that basis of unity and clarity, then you can craft your marketing language. Sometimes you kind of get lucky and it can serve as, in both cases, like our why do we exist answer definitely does that because it's kind of punchy and pithy. It doesn't have to be. But we, in discussions with this potential client and then this other agency, we realized, okay, that agency also helped drive some kind of core clarity with the team in a very effective way. So we kind of backed off and said, I think we're going to complicate things if we both work on this. One of us should help you get clear internally. And they seemed like the better option for that group at the time because they really need to get to a fundraising initiative that language was particularly designed for. So what's my point is, I guess if you're hiring a marketing agency, find out if they will drive really robust, simple, foundational clarity work with the team, or work with a group like ours that will get you that and then go into marketing. So there are a couple of ways to do it. And we don't want to villainize any marketing agencies. And nor do we think that there's only one framework which is necessary other than our dig against generally mission and vision statements and mission statements.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you, Steph, when you're thinking about, buying a product, go back to that thing again. So let's say I'm a consumer. I am looking at a website for something that I am interested in. Do you think it's possible to have a clear offering with confusion behind it? Like, what could someone kind of muscle through and have that work, do you think?
Maybe for a product, a single product might be able to be marketed sufficiently while the organization remains unclear. That's probably more probable because I can sell you this book or something while the organization also sells surfboards and puppy dogs. Like it could be chaotic as a whole.
Do the puppy dogs go on the surfboard? Is that how they're kind of trained?
Yeah,
is that how it works?
Package deal.
Oh, cool.
You can read your book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you could probably market like a single item, and when you're presenting a whole organization, website, or even clarity around an event, I don't know how, I've never seen it achieved. Let's say that. I've never seen it achieved where if something I receive is confusing, like I don't bite. Maybe I'm rare in this. I don't bite. If I receive something and the impression I get is these guys don't even know who they are, I won't bother. And I'll share an example, actually. It just comes to mind. Maybe it's just not quite on par with the organizational clarity, but just communicational clarity. I had a networking event come through my email, and just recently, and I was trying to get involved in a kind of a new networking group, and so I'd never been. I don't know what to expect. And I get an email that is hosted at the curling club, and there's a picture of a curling rock, and something about, 6 o'clock to 7:30. And I'm so clarity. I love clarity. I'm like, are we curling at this event? This is what I want to know. Are we curling, or is this still a networking event? And if so, why'd you put a curling rock on the networking event? Anyways, it caused confusion, and I deleted the email.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people, unless they were really keen about exploring it, they don't go through the trouble of clarifying what it was their job to have clarified in the first place.
Yeah, right. By the way, I went to the event and it was a great time curling. I didn't meet anybody though. I just was really into the rocks. Yeah. If you don't know curling, by the way, a rock is the thing you push down the ice. So
I'm
just
not
in
gonna
case.
go curl to meet new business contacts.
Yeah.
No thanks, I'll pass. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the natural place to end on the curling rock and the surfboard with the dogs. We'll leave it there. Just to wrap up, clarity is so fundamental. It's worth fighting for. It's essential fighting for, especially before, if not essentially part of a marketing or communications campaign or fundraising campaign, because without it, you're going to be unclear, imprecise, and lack the internal unity that you need to execute on anything. So thanks for joining us, and all the best getting clear.